Hey everyone, Voltage here. Welcome to some more NFEPL. I have 2 weeks actually today to show off, and we'll get right into it. The first thing, it's worth noting that these weeks are going to be sort of unsatisfying if you're rooting for me. And what I mean by that is I do not play super great in one of these matches, and the other match I don't have a super great team. So, in that sense, I think it's worth showing these matches for the sake of developing the metagame and for allowing players who want to play black and white to know why one team might not be as successful as another, or why some play might not be as smart in this case. So I'm not afraid to post a loss. This is what it is. So we'll get right into it, starting with week 2 against DnB. So I brought this team that's Gabite, Ferroseed, Staravia, Duosian, Wartortle, and Monferno. Immediately out of the gate, going off of the first week, I wanted to build with Specs Monferno, which is fine. It's not great, but it's not terrible. It's like very middle of the road and very niche, I'd say. The issue here comes from the fact that the rest of the team doesn't really work that well in the grand scheme of things when it comes to just some certain choices with regards to Ferroseed, Staravia, and Gabite, as we'll see as the match goes along. Furthermore, I think, there were a couple misplays, especially early on in this game, that really made it difficult for me very early on to be good with what I brought. Especially because with defensive Gabite, that's sort of difficult to do. And Staravia isn't that great. So we'll just dive right into this and we'll get started here. As, he leads Frillish, and I'm going to lead my Staravia here. Now, with Staravia, I'm just going to click U-turn because I did Calx and Pursuit's not doing anything to this, and it's likely going to click Will-O-Wisp or Scald onto me. So the best thing I can do is go into my own Wartortle here and click Toxic, but it goes for Nightshade, which I found to be really interesting. So I tried doubling into Monferno on an expected Toxic into a Roselia or a Natu, but of course that doesn't happen and he just goes right for the Scald, which is really not good for me because this puts my Monferno at 22%, and I can't do much with it now. I can't switch it in freely once rocks are up, which with Hippo and Natu, that is absolutely possible. So I have to U-turn here again, back into Wartortle. So I'm already over-predicting a lot, and Nightshade is just consistently doing damage to me, and this Frillage is being very annoying. So right here I go for a Toxic, but of course the Natu comes in on the Toxic, which is further just really annoying for me. And at this point, I am playing like trash. I mean, I came out of this fight, and I was just embarrassed by the early game here, and for good reason. The early game is not good. I go back into Staravia because frankly Natu just eats up my team at this point. So I have to go into Staravia as the Hippo comes up that sets up Sand now. And this Staravia, I could click Brave Bird if I wanted, but it's not going to do much, so I have to click U-turn again and go into this case Ferroseed on, a Rocks here, for example. So now with Ferroseed out, I have a couple different options, but Ferroseed is basically hard stopped by Natu. And at this point, I was expecting him to go Natu, but he actually goes Frillish, so I was going for a Gyro Ball just to get some chip onto Natu, so that I would eventually double into, whatever he wants to do. But of course, with Frillish coming in, I really don't have much to do, and especially because I'm going to give a shout out to my teammate Faded here. Faded, who just left actually, Faded was telling me in chat earlier in the week that Taunt Frillish seemed really good, and I was less confident about it, but as you'll see here, Taunt Frillish comes out, and unfortunately I can't do anything to it now, which makes that matchup even more annoying. It's so reflective of the fact that I was just not prepared for this Mon, and so I take full responsibility for that. The biggest thing here is that Taunt Frillish actually seems really good because it just sort of sits out there, and I can't really switch anything in. I kind of either have to sack something, but I don't want to sack this Wartortle on the hazard control, because this Roselia is absolutely spikes. So I go into my Gabite here on another taunt as the taunt wears off, but now see, this is, again, defensive Gabite, so I can't really Toxic it or go for rocks here. So I have to go for an Outrage or an Earthquake. as I go for an outrage. And that's doing, like, 0 to Hippo. I mean, like, it's just, this is not a good fight. I don't do well here, as Hippo literally just slacks off and gets that there. My main thinking is that I just need to chip down the team enough so that Duosian can effectively come in, get to, you know, +6, enough so that Sneasel's punishment isn't going to kill me, and then I can still win this game. It's not over for me. It's just that I have a terrible, terrible matchup. So I have to work my best here, as Outrage on this defensive Natu is going to be doing nothing, because I was in testing, and Spadef, it does about 40-some. So that's really annoying. So I have to go back out into this Ferroseed on a U-turn, for example, but he doubles right into Hippo. So at this point I'm thinking, okay, you know, he has a free switch back into Natu, and literally I can't touch it aside from going from Gyro Ball. So I'm just going to click Seeds in this case, just to see, because if he doesn't switch, it's a free Leech Seed against me. If I don't get it, I'm not affected by Leech Seeds. So in the grand scheme of things, it was fine, but he goes for a Roost here. And I'm just going to click, I believe I clicked Gyro Ball, yeah. I should have clicked Gyro Ball initially, but, like, I can't touch this Natu. I just can't touch the combination of Natu, Frillish, Roselia, which is really, really frustrating for me. I thought he was going to U-turn there. I don't know what I was thinking. It's not a good fight. Basically, where I'm at now is I either have to sack this Ferroseed, or I just keep chipping the Natu up until the point where he feels like he wants to switch out. Gyro Ball doing about 22 to 29 is alright, because it just forces him to roost a bit. But at this point I'm thinking, okay, he'll roost, I can go into my Staravia, and I can maybe, you know, threaten a Pursuit or something along those lines, maybe, you know, just get more chip off somehow. At this point, I just need to do damage to this Natu. I actually go for a Brave Bird, though, just thinking maybe, okay, he'll switch or something. But, you know, he's just going to click Roost, because why shouldn't he? He will win every time against a Scarf Staravia clicking Brave Bird, and I'm effectively just wasting away turns trying to get, you know, as much chip on this Natu as I can. But, like, let's be real here. This is not going to work. It's not going to last. It's not workable. So I end up sacking my Staravia here just for the sake of, you know, getting a free switch into a Mon, right? Because Monferno can beat Roselia, and Duosian can beat Roselia, but it's like, I need a free switch into Duosian. So at this point, right, he goes for a U-turn, I have to click Iron Defense. That's all I can do, really, at this point. On this taunt, this Frillish. Okay, so here, I know all 4 of the moves, he's going to taunt me, right? So my mindset is, okay, I want to be able to Calm Mind a bit too to do more damage to this thing, because I'm also scared of that. And we'll get to why that's a bad call later, but I have to say that right now I am fully expecting this thing to taunt me, so I want to get off some kind of damage. But I go back into Monferno. I don't know what the play was, actually why that was a play. Why did I do that there? That's really stupid. I should have just clicked Signal Beam or something. Okay, so I expected to taunt, go into Monferno here to try to get like a HP Dark, I guess, as he does go for the taunt. So now literally I have 1 turn, and it's going to click Recover on this turn anyway. It's like, this is just bad. As he goes into Roselia, and I go for, that's Hidden Power Dark. Honestly, if I really wanted to make a good mid-ground play, I just clicked Flamethrower. That would have been something. But again, I just played horribly here. It's so bad. Because Natu's going to come in, and basically I just have to click Outrage again, you know, just hope that, you know, with the Sand Roll, I'm able to knock out this Natu. And unfortunately I don't. It's like a 35 to 41, I think, so the roll wasn't in my favor. But at this point, you know, I'm just kind of clicking buttons and hoping for the best. It's not a good look, and frankly, it's a match that, again, I'm not proud of. With this part here, you know, I was just trying to click Outrage and spam, get him to waste more Roosts so that he would eventually die. But, like, you know, it's just so bad. This is so bad. I do get a crit, though, which is actually really instrumental, especially because he goes for Nightshade there. And because that crit happens, Natu is forced to switch out. Yeah. So basically now Hippo comes in, and I'm confused. I could go for a Toxic here, but Natu comes back in. And at this point, I go for Rocks just on the off chance that he doesn't switch into Natu. At this point, you know, I'm thinking, okay, might as well just click Outrage, just because, you know, I don't want to get the 6-0, and boom, wouldn't you know, prevent 6-0. At least I got that for me, right? Good. So at this point, Sneasel is going to come in, and Sneasel has a free Ice Shard, free Pursuit. Yeah, so the Gabite's dead. So I basically have to go into my Ferroseed here, because otherwise, like, it's abandoned Sneasel, there's no doubt about that. So I have to be able to just click, like, Leech Seed or something, just to get chip off onto something here. And as we'll see here, I do get some chip off this Combuskin at least, because that's there. But Frillish comes back out, and it's going to just, you know, taunt me. I go for the T-Wave here, just in case he wanted to, you know, Swords Dance for whatever reason on a switch into Wartortle. But, like, I don't know why I would do that anyway. Or, like, into Duosion. But because I get paralyzed, I paralyze this, that's alright for me. I can try to beat the taunt as it comes out. It's just not going to be very effective as he goes for a recover on my Gyro Ball. I was expecting a taunt, so I go for Gyro Ball. That's a misplay. Should have Leech Seeded. You know? Hard to know. At this point, it was a 50-50 and I lost that, but in comes the Combuskin again. And I go for a Leech Seed that unfortunately misses. I don't think that matters much in the grand scheme of things, but it is really not a great thing to miss, as the Fire Blast does come out now. So at this point, I have a free into Duosion, right? I have a free switch into Duosion. I can boost however I want with it, and I'll be able to at least live a hit or two from this Combuskin. So this Fire Blast does 44, right? That's not going to do enough, especially when I do an Acid Armor. So here's what I was thinking. I was thinking, oh shit, this Fire Blast did 44. I mean, I think I just choked, right? That's what I was thinking. Instead, what he's going to do here is he's going to Fire Blast and it's going to miss. So I get really lucky there, and I just click Recover. That saves me from basically a GG right there. But because it misses, I'm allowed to effectively go for a Calm Mind here, which is an interesting play. The play was to go for Iron Defense, though. The play absolutely was to go for Iron Defense, because Calm Minding here is a mistake, as you'll soon see. So I get to +2 in Defense, Special Attack, Special Defense, which is fine, but it's not great as the Rose comes in. And basically, had I not just killed this Rose, I might have actually had a decent shot at winning if I had played maybe a little smarter. But at the same time, it's just like, I go for Signal Beam, and the Sand Chip is going to send Rose very, very close to that, but the taunt doesn't wear off, and I am going to kill this Rose. So now, Sneasel is going to come in here, and I'm about to explain why this is a misplay on my end, and why I learn from my mistakes. We'll see here, Sneasel goes for Punishment, and it kills me. I'm going to be completely honest here when I say that I misunderstood the mechanics of Punishment. I thought that Punishment did +20 for every boost you had. So I realize now that doesn't make any sense, because that's literally what Power Trip is. But I thought that if Sneasel was using Swords Dance, if it used Punishment, it would be stronger, not the opponent. So because I went for +2 Calm Minds, so I got +2 in Special Attack and Special Defense, that Punishment is doing about 100... No, it's doing 140 base power Punishment onto this. Had I boosted my Iron Defense, I would have actually probably won this. But because I went for so many Calm Minds, I effectively lose to this Punishment, and therefore the game. Also, I think Frillish would eventually outbeat me with Taunt plus Nightshade, but because of that, I effectively lose this game. Played like shit, built like shit. This was a bad week for me. I am not going to not deny that whatsoever, and I let my team down this week. So, there's that. So afterwards, I was going into the fight in the second week, coming off a poorly built team, and a poorly built and a poorly played matchup, right? So, in that sense, I have to go now and move on accordingly. So I end up playing, and that was against DnB, by the way. So now we move into Game 2, which is me versus ggopw, and they play some OMs, very good. This team was actually built around Swords Dance, Slack Off Monferno, and Tangela. Tangela plus Sneasel. So I wanted to use the things because I've been on a Monferno kick lately, and I actually had some help building this team, and I'll reveal who that person is later, not now. But basically, looking at the team, we sort of EV'd things very, very specifically. Cleftang is lovely against Sand, excuse me, since Clefairy and Tangela form a really nice Def Spadef core, which is really good. Bulky Monferno is also really, really good, and I would highly recommend it. There's also the fact that there's Electabuzz here, and this Electabuzz was EV'd specifically to live some Roselia hits and knock some stuff out. I'll share the EVs at the end of the tournament just because I may end up using this set again. And then we have this Wartortle, which was also EV'd to live some stuff from Misdreavus and whatnot. So anyway, I'm going to start off here, and I'm much more confident with this team. I'm actually pretty happy with this team turned out, and I think, despite the loss here as well, I think had I played just a little bit more aggressively, I could have won this game. So we'll get into this here. And I'm going to lead Clefairy against this Electabuzz. Clefairy has Knockoff and T-Wave and Rocks, which is maybe a little passive, but at the same time, Knockoff in this meta is huge. And despite the lack of power, it's so good. So it's going to be able to live that, and from Calx, that's a Specs Electabuzz, so I know that much. So I can easily click Knockoff on whatever wants to come in. So Knockoff knocks off Natu's Eviolite. So Natu's going to not be nearly as big of a pain this time, as I go into my own Electabuzz on his U-turn. So in comes Hippo, and I was fully expecting Hippo to come in off the U-turn, so I basically have a free switch into Tangela here to just click Knockoff again. As you'll see here, the Tangela comes in on these rocks. So at this point, I'm thinking, okay, Leaf Storm will kill this, but Roselia is going to obviously come in because Roselia is the switch-in to an Eviolite Tangela, and Eviolite Tangela was really popular the first 2 weeks. So naturally, for me, the play is to go for a knockoff here, just to get Roselia knocked off, and that way I can click, Hidden Power Fire later, or Monferno can put in a lot of work later. It would be good. So as I go for that, I'm expecting a Sludge Bomb to come in, so I go back into my Electabuzz here. On the T-Spikes that come out, I was not expecting T-Spikes, not gonna lie. I was expecting just regular spikes, but T-Spikes actually makes a lot of sense based on this team, because T-Spikes allows for the progressive chip throughout, which is really helpful for Specs Electabuzz, and for what I'm assuming here to be Bulk Up Scraggy. And one other thing that I think is really interesting is that in this game, the Hippo, Rose, Frillish, Natu core is there, and in the last game, Hippo, Rose, Frillish, Natu. So clearly my opponents like to CT me with Hippo, Rose, Frillish, Natu. Just as a heads up and reminder for myself for future weeks and for my future opponents. That core works pretty well against me, so you should definitely bring it, because I definitely won't CT that. Anyway, so this Electabuzz comes out and it goes for a Psychic, and that's going to do quite a bit to this Roselia, but it goes for the rest. Luckily for me, I'm not Specs, I'm Eviolite Electabuzz here. So if he switches into Scraggy, which he does, I could just go for a T-Bolt, for example. I do go for a Psychic though, and that's one of the first of few plays that I actually think I should have been more aggressive and predicted an obvious switch. Because why the hell would Roselia stay in there? That makes no sense, right? For ggopw to stay in with that Roselia there. So of course he's going to go into Scraggy on my Psychic, because he thinks I'm probably Specs too. So I should have gone for a T-Bolt or a Volt Switch there, because at least with one of those, I would then be able to go into, say, Tangela or my Monferno and click either Leaf Storm or Close Combat. And so that's the first of a couple turns where I just make a bad play. So I go for a Volt Switch there, which, it's kind of too little too late, but I bring in the Wartortle. And this Wartortle, I'm going to try to spin as he goes for a Crunch, but look how much chip Wartortle takes in that first turn alone. Wartortle comes in at full, and now it's at half health. If that isn't, not good, I don't know what is. And I go for a Toxic here. I don't know why I didn't just spin. I think I was expecting the Frillish to come in and trying to Toxic the Frillish, but it ends up biting me in the ass, as you can see. Because, Frillish is only going to be able to click Hex. So, I don't know. Again, This is overplay number 2 here. It's bad play number 2. So now I literally can't click Rapid Spin again on the fear that Frillish is going to come in. So I have to go back into Clefairy on the Volt Switch, right? Which, you know, there it is. Luckily, Clefairy has Magic Guard, so it doesn't really care about all these hazards, but at the same time, it's very, very concerning for me. So Clefairy, I'm fully expecting him to think that I'm going to switch out into, you know, Tangela, for example, here. And I'm fully expecting him to bulk up. It's a little risky, but I'm seeing what he wants to do. I wouldn't necessarily leave my Clefairy in just because it can do so much, as he goes for a taunt. Now, that taunt is kind of interesting for me. Scraggy doesn't always run taunt. I haven't seen Scraggy run a ton of taunts in the past, but, you know, given the nature of Cleftang and the fact that there's going to be a lot of status spreaders and a lot of passive mons, not necessarily passive, but, you know, like status-inducing mons, like Roselia, like Frillish, like Hippo, like Clefairy, for example, and a couple others, like even Misdreavus. You know, taunt on Scraggy is not a bad option, and frankly, I might actually build another team with it. So anyway, I said another team. Anyway, so Tangela here has Regenerator, which is really nice, and I'm just gonna click, I'm gonna double into Clefairy here, just on his Scraggy switch into Roselia. I actually really like this play for me, because now I get a free Soft-Boiled. I mean, Roselia cannot touch Clefairy, but he goes through the Aromatherapy, which is another thing that it's kind of a cool set. Normally, you know, Spikes Roselias tend to be, you know, Spikes, Rest, Giga Drain, Sludge Bomb, you know? But this Roselia is more Toxic Spikes, which I think is really cool for Rest Aromatherapy. Rest Aromatherapy is a little redundant in my opinion, but I do think it's kind of a cool innovation, and I really, again, it gave me a little bit of inspiration going into future weeks. Excuse me. So in comes, oh, you can see my cursor. Yeah, I get a free Soft-Boiled on the Aromatherapy. Excuse me. Can't be a voltage replay fight without a burp. So I just click Rocks here on the Natu switch in. But here's the thing about Natu, which I think is kind of interesting. Because I'm a poisoned Clefairy, this Natu, if it's a standard Natu, it's not going to be able to touch me. It's not going to be able to do anything to me for that matter. So I can stay in with Clefairy and not worry. So this Natu's going to click Toxic, I just have to keep clicking Knockoff. And, you know, I can eventually get Chip away at it if I really want to. I have more PP than it, and Nightshade is not going to be able to touch me either, which is absolutely great for me. So I can literally sit out here and just spam Knockoff for, you know, whenever he wants to click U-turn, and something is getting knocked off. Alternatively, I'm also going to win the PP stall, assuming I have to come to that. Because we both have, as you can see, I have Knockoff, Soft-Boiled, and Stealth Rock, which are 30, 16, and 32. And he's got U-Turn, Toxic, Nightshade, and Roost. So automatically, I'm going to have more PP than him. So I can click Thunder Wave too, and not have to worry about a T-Wave, that pesky yellow magic, coming in. So literally, I have free reign to just sit here and wait, right? Which, all things considered, I do for a bit. And it's not a bad call, I think. I personally think this is a fine play for what it's worth, and I'm just sort of trying to lull him into the mindset that I am perfectly okay with sitting here and waiting, because there's going to be a point where I'd make a switch on a predicted something to try to gain momentum for my team. The switch itself is a little suspect, but there was a moment when I thought that he might switch into a Scraggy at some point, especially when this Natu's at full, because Scraggy very likely has Shed Skin, which would allow me to effectively, if I click T-Wave, for example, that can come in, shed that T-Wave, and then immediately start setting up on me. But, you know, we play this game for a little bit, this back and forth, especially because I'm not willing to sacrifice any more mons to poison than I already have, and Wartortle can't switch in effectively freely, so I have to just find a way to get that in. Unfortunately, I've found that I'm really bad with playing with Wartortle, so that's kind of frustrating, given the fact that Wartortle has no reliable recovery either. So as you're watching me go through these things, what's going through my head is that I don't want other things to get poisoned. I'm trying to either get Monferno or Tangela to win with a setup, and because he doesn't have Duosion, Sneasel isn't as important, but it's still really helpful against this core right here. So we're just going to keep going for a little while, just to keep that in mind. He goes for a Frillish here, and this is when I click Rocks, and I get the Rocks up on his team finally. And since there's no Spinner on his team, those Rocks are going to stay there. It's the first match in so long I've been able to get entry hazards up, and I'm finally happy about it. So now this Frillish can come in, can click Taunt, or whatever it wants to do here, I assume. But it's going to go for a Scald, but like literally, this thing can't touch me. So I just go for a knockoff here as well, and knock off its Eviolite too. Now, I could click T-Wave here. I could also do a couple other things, is he's just going to spam Scald. Again, I don't really know what that goal is there necessarily. The T-Wave on the Frillish is to prevent, get the nice switches if I can, and to force a Roselia out. Now, here's what I was thinking, right? Let's actually back up a turn. Okay. This is a paralyzed Frillish. Okay, we're here. I remember this. I literally remember this. This is the other play. I was half a second away from doubling into Sneasel on the Roselia switch and just clicking Ice Punch, because I have a free way of doing that if he wants to aromatherapy me. I was just worried that Sneasel with the Poison Chip and the Rocks Chip and the Sand Chip would be too damaged to effectively work, which again, in hindsight, is a little dumb, because literally the play is so obvious for him to go into Roselia because this Clefairy can't touch it. So I'm really annoyed at myself here that I didn't make this double into Sneasel that I was thinking might happen with Roselia. So unfortunately for me, he goes into Roselia, I don't go into Sneasel. Even a Monferno switch would have probably been fine, but because I didn't go for the Sneasel switch here, he once again has a free reign to sort of do whatever he wants, and now I go into Sneasel, which is really, really annoying for me as a player watching this in hindsight, because what I want to do is I wanted to make that double, but now since I didn't make the double, it's like, oh shit, now I have to do this. And wouldn't you know, he gets a free aromatherapy, his entire team is healed from their statuses, and now I have to click another thing. So here's the next thing that really annoyed me. I wanted to click Pursuit here. I really, really wanted to click Pursuit here. But as you'll see, I don't. I go for an Ice Punch on the not to switch in. Pursuit was a 50% chance to kill if it didn't switch. If it did switch, it's a kill. If it doesn't switch, it's a 50-50. Whereas Ice Punch on the not to switch in or anything else will kill something. But I should have gone for the Pursuit because this Roselia is a problem for my team. And because I didn't do that, because I get the nice Ice Punch, I do get the kill on Natu at least. But I don't get... still have a troubled time dealing with Roselia to an extent. I still have this, but I have a problem dealing with Roselia plus Frillish. So I have to go back into my Clefairy here on this Frillish, but he makes a great double into Scraggy here. So Scraggy's going to come in, and at this point I'm thinking, okay, this Scraggy, now he thinks I'm going to switch into something else. So I'm going to click Knockoff here, or excuse me, I'm not going to click Knockoff here. I think I'm thinking it's a different game. I go into Tangela here on his Bulk Up, or on his Rest. He's actually Rest though. I thought he was Bulk Up. I am confusing this for a different match, clearly. So Tangela is in, and I'm Eviolite. This is chipped enough with Eviolite not on it to where Hidden Power Fire could kill, especially after Sand and Rocks. But I go for a knockoff, which is so annoying because right there, the play is obviously to click HP Fire because this doesn't have an Eviolite. This has one, but it's not going to stay in because it loses to a Leaf Storm. It's like, make less scared plays. Make fewer scared plays. It's not hard to do. Play more aggressively. So unfortunately, Roselia just is able to rest on my switch into Clefairy because, again, Tangela dies to a Sludge Bomb from this, and I can't risk my Tangela when this, and this still live, right? So I need to get out of my head when I'm playing that. And I'm running out of time too, as you see. I'm sort of taking a long time to calc, but I do get the free Soft Boiled at least. So Frillish is going to come back out now. And we're sort of thinking, again, it's Taunt Frillish, which Taunt Frillish is really good. Use Taunt Frillish. I don't think we can express this enough. PH made a post in the Viability Rankings thread. Use Taunt Frillish. I send in my Sneasel here, and at this point I'm thinking, okay, this is a mistake. Right here, sending in Sneasel here is a goddamn mistake because I lose it to Sand plus Poison. And now I have a free switch into my Tangela. So here's what I'm thinking, right? I can go for a Leaf Storm, get free damage on this, but it's not going to be enough. Hidden Power Fire is not going to be enough on this Roselia. So I have to double into Monferno on the Roselia switch, right? Is that what's going to happen? And it does. So I did play that kind of neat. And at this point I'm thinking, okay, I can Swords Dance here, but, like, what's that going to do? Because Hippo's going to come in, and I can't do anything to Hippo. Even at +2, I can't do anything to Hippo. So at this point I'm thinking, okay, ISD here, it's like, why? I should have just clicked Close Combat or Flare Blitz or something. I don't think Flare Blitz... Yeah, Flare Blitz will definitely kill the Roselia too. I actually slack off here on his... I think I was expecting him to maybe expect me to go into Tangela and then double back into Rose. But of course he just clicks Earthquake, because why wouldn't he, right? Like, there's no reason for him not to click Earthquake, and so this Monferno is dead. It's like, yeah, it's a bad play. That's a bad play on my end. And his Hippo is back up at full. That's a terrible play on my part. So now I at least get a free Rapid Spin into this, so I think. That's another misplay on my end. I get the Toxic on Frillish at least. At this point, like, most of my team is poisoned, so I just have to deal with that as I sack this thing. I get Frillish poisoned, badly poisoned there. But, like, that stretch of turns is just bad. It's just bad. It's bad play. It's just bad play, because I was just getting frustrated. I was getting frustrated and a little discouraged. So I send in Electabuzz here, and here's yet another point where I was just frustrated with myself, right? Because you'll see here that I go for a Thunderbolt. Like, of course he's gonna go into Hippo on a T-Bolt from Frillish. I should have clicked Hidden Power Ice because I haven't revealed it yet, and it would 2HKO this thing. But I don't! And so I was getting scared and bullshit, and it's really, really frustrating. And so this, you know, the chip from all of this... See, look, had I sniped him in on there, not only would he not been able to slack that off, it would have been a 2HKO, he would have been forced to switch into something else, and I would have been able to just, you know, net another kill. But because I don't, this Hippo can get back up and effectively just, you know, be at 62, and so I'm left at Cleftang. And Cleftang, to its credit, is a fat-ass core that can do a lot of things. Unfortunately, the Roselia is going to come in, and do I click Hidden Power Fire? I finally click it. The crit kind of matters, but Roselia is dead, so maybe this is a turning point. Hard to say. Unlikely, but it's hard to say, because frankly, when this Roselia came in, I thought it was GG, because, like, literally, I can't touch it with this, and this is gonna die, so I have to hope that it does well. But yeah, Voltage hexing, nothing new. It's because I whooped Aiden's ass because I hexed him. Yeah, but Focus Blast from Electabuzz hits this Clefairy, and it hits a second time, so that's a dead Clefairy, and at this point, I have to basically go into this poisoned Tangela. But here's some cool little tech I do to at least try to win, right? Frillish is going to come in, and I'm going to click Leech Seed. No, excuse me, I clicked Leaf Storm because I'm a dumbass. Should have clicked Leech Seed, but whatever. Basically, I just can't let that go. And now I'm at a -2. Leaf Storms are still going to do a lot, but this Electabuzz is doing lots of damage to me. On his Volt Switch into, I think, Scraggy? Yeah, Scraggy comes in. And I think I clicked Leech Seed here. Yeah, cool. So I am getting chip off on the Scraggy. Had I just spammed Leech Seed, I might have had a chance. Instead of clicking... If I had clicked Leech Seed instead of Leaf Storm on the Frillish, I might have maybe had something. But, you know, I can't do much to this. And so I click moves, because it's basically over here because I didn't spam Leech Seed, I think. But I really didn't deserve to win this game either, so... You know, that's just how it goes sometimes. I do get more chip off on the Scraggy from the Leech Seed at least, which is kind of neat, but I'm in range of Electabuzz killing me. So I drop a GG there, and that's basically it for me. So yeah. Weeks 2 and 3 are both L's for me, so I'm currently 1 and 2. And hoping that changes this week, because it's very demoralizing to take 2 losses in a row when you come in and you're supposed to be decently good at the tier and then play like you just saw. Luckily for me, I do have hindsight to at least look back at these matches and to be conscious of where I've made these mistakes and how I can play better going forward. Ultimately, Week 2 was just bad. I take full responsibility for that. Week 3, I just needed to play more aggressively. I got too scared and more demoralized than I think I should have. So Week 4, when I'm playing Feel, or Fee, or the Norwegian dude, you can bet your ass that I am going to be playing probably, hopefully, a little smarter, a little bit more competently, and a little bit more confidently as well. That being said, I appreciate you all watching these. You know, it's hard sometimes to post losses, but it keeps you honest and it keeps you humble. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed this video, leave a comment, like, subscribe. Don't forget to follow along for more NFE content, and I will be sure to see you all for future videos. I'm saying words like this. Until next time, thanks for watching.